All done. There we go. A big order come in today. How are you doing today? Bob Vokes here for the Gilligaloo. We are going to talk about identifying bird calls coming into spring. We've had lots of requests and saying, what's kind of the best way to start to learn to ID via sound? Obviously, there's only a couple of ways to start, and that's to start to study, start to listen, start to get that memory, sound memory, and keep working at it, keep working at it, keep working at it. Obviously, that's the only way. But there's a few things I'd like to suggest as tips as to how you may help advance your process in going through getting to learn some bird calls. I think one of the main things to start is to cluster different species of birds together. So if you're going to talk about songbirds, if you're going to talk about bug eaters, you're going to talk about warblers, you're going to talk about chickadees and nuthatches and all those, you got to start classifying the groups. So put your flycatchers together, put your songbirds together, and start thinking about them from that way, because they all have a similar song. The other thing then is habitat. Where are you at that particular moment? So if you happen to be on the edge of a swamp or a marsh area or by a lake or those kind of, you're going to start to say, okay, I'm bound to see or hear this type of bird, that species of bird, and those kind of things. So you put together, start clustering together some different things. And if you happen to see a bird but you haven't really kind of got it figured out, then start to look at body shape, where the center of gravity is it over the legs, is it have a great big stout beak, start to class the birds a little bit based on features that you can either hear or see, and grouping them together. So if, for instance, we have this eastern towhee here. So it says, drink your tea. Very common bird that we hear every spring and summer here in Eastern Ontario. The thing is then, if I hear that bird, where's it coming from? Is it coming from high in the trees? Is it coming from low in the shrubs on the ground? Where is it coming from? Because that again will put some emphasis on a particular type of species based on location where it is, and that can help get you started. Obviously, all those things take practice and time and study. That's basically what it comes down to, is study. I'm going to continue throughout the next while, continuing to play bird songs on all of our platforms so that we can start to get used to that again and reactivate our memory from last spring and summer. So I want to kind of just go through, obviously then, great field guides are a magnificent thing to have with you, so that you can start to classify the birds together. So here we have warblers, for instance. So when I talk about center of gravity and where are their legs, take a look at this black-throated green warbler here. Its legs are directly underneath them, so its center of gravity is directly underneath the body. That's a great identifier for the warblers. And then you start thinking about, well, what's a warbler sound like? And you go to different apps and features that you can do. So all these apps are available on our smartphones and on our iPads and things. So we get into the flycatchers and different things and different vireos. So I love the red-eyed vireo for the sounds that it makes, because it's very distinct. And they never stop. That's another feature. So you get to learn a feature. So they start to sing. Very robin-like, but very different. And they go on and on and on and on and on. So think about the characteristic of that particular bird. Where's that sound coming from? Often a red-eyed vireo is going to be up in the trees fairly high, and you're going to have to try to figure out where he is. So all of those things. So start classing your birds together, put your species of birds together, and then work on the sound of that particular group of species. Start working on the location where you are. Are you at the edge of a marsh or a wetland? land? Are you in your backyard? Are you out in a meadow? Where do you happen to be? And then start researching and studying where those birds, what types of birds will be in those locations on a regular basis, depending on time of year also. Obviously in the spring and in the meadows and what have you, we're going to have a lot of our meadow birds there. So class of birds, location where you are, and then height where they happen to be, and then start looking at the specifics of the bird, and that'll help you start to learn how to ID via sound. Have a great day.